Lakshmi, please mute your microphone. Lakshmi, are you here?
Again,
Please mute. You have unmuted your microphone, so noise is coming. Okay. It is not muted till now. Lakshmi, mute yourself. Okay, Lakshmi, am I audible to you? Okay, others who are here. If okay. Okay, let's start. Let her unmute. Sorry, mute her mic herself. So let us start. So till today, what we have discussed. Okay, anybody who have joined here, do you know Lakshmi? Anybody know Lakshmi? Then please call her to mute. I think she is not there. Okay, very good. So, in the previous classes, what we have discussed and what is going on, we are discussing about the higher education. So, we have first discussed about what are the aims of higher education, and in the aims of higher education, we have discussed already what is the meaning and significance of education, and what are the changing role and function of higher education through the history of education, then how higher education is related to society and different aspect of society. Then we have discussed the different constitutional provisions regarding higher education, role of UGC, different statutory, non-statutory bodies, and different reports, and how the higher education is developing and or growing throughout these periods. We are already going through all these things, and also we have discussed the central and state mechanism, function of UGC, everything we have discussed. So another wing is there, that is your 5-year plan, and we will discuss about these 5-year plans. So in our system, the in our government, what happened when a policy is framed and the recommendations are made, then the implementation part come into play, and for the implementation part the planning is necessary, and without planning these cannot reach their goal or attain their goal. So we also know that we have also the planning procedure, and now the planning procedure is done through the Niti Aayog, but before that there are the 5-year plans. So you government offered through these 5 year plans before that. So the 5 year plans were introduced in India in 1951, and it was inspired by the Soviet model of economic planning. And what was the primary goal? The primary goal of this type of planning was to achieve re- rapid economic growth, social justice, and self reliance. So, education is the instrument to fulfill all these things, all this planning procedure. So education, particularly if we'll say here about the higher education, so higher education has a crucial role to play in these plans, and in these plans also higher education was a crucial aspect because it is going to shape the India's intellectual and technological growth. So first 5 year plan was from 1951 to 1956, and it was actually focusing on agriculture, infrastructure, and post-independence rehabilitation. As it was the first plan and first plan of the independent India.
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ନମସ୍କାର।
Yes.
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ପିପିଟି ଶୋ କରୁନି।
ନା ପିପିଟି ମୁଁ କରୁଛି, ଖାଲି ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ କହିଦଉଛି ଖାଲି ଫାଷ୍ଟ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ 1 minute, ଜଷ୍ଟ a minute କରୁଛି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ହଁ ପିପିଟିଟା ଶୋ କରୁଛି, ଏଇଟା ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଏ ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନ୍, ଆଫ୍ଟର ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଆଇ ୱିଲ୍ ଗो ଟୁ ଦ ପିପିଟି। ଓକେ। So I am only saying you that what are the focus area in different 5 year plans. So in the first 5 year plan, the focus was on the agriculture, infrastructure, and also the rehabilitation in post-independent India. And in the second 5 year plan, the focus was on industrial development, economic self-sufficiency, and in the third plan, the uh, focus was on self-reliance and poverty reduction. In fourth 5 year plan, there is growth with stability and reducing inequality, and in fifth, poverty removal, employment, all these things were focused. And in the sixth plan, education was focused, and increased budget for education was focused, and also focus on technical and medical education. In which plan? In your sixth plan in 1980. And after that, similarly, after your 12th plan, it is over, and the Niti Aayog came into existence. Okay, now I am sharing my PPT. Now is it visible?
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
Okay. So this is the overall idea about the 5 year plans. Today we will discuss about what is educational planning, what is 5 year plan, what are the different 5 year plans, and how higher education, development of higher education occur throughout all these plans. So, first of all, we will see what is educational planning. Why a plan? What is a plan and why a plan is needed? A plan is actually needed to reach the goal successfully with minimal use or with effective use of the resources available to us. That's why planning is essential. Otherwise, we may face the wastage. So similarly, education also needs planning, and in this context, you can say education is an instrument of change, and education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This was the quotation of Nelson Mandela. Then, what is educational planning? Actually, planning refers to the process of efficient deployment of physical and financial resources for realizing the set targets. जोटा मु कहली जे टारगेट रे पहुंचिया पहले हमको फिजिकल और फाइनेंशियल रिसोर्सेस रो एफिशिएंट यूज करिया पे पड़िबो. It is concerned with the arrangements made for utilizing resources to realize the set goals and to serve the given ends. This is called as planning. And what is educational planning? Educational planning, in its broadest sense, if you will see, is the application of rational, systematic analysis to the process of educational development with the aim of making education more effective and efficient in responding to the needs and goals of the student and society. Okay. And educational planning is ideologically neutral. Its methodology are sufficiently flexible and adaptable to fit situations that differ widely in ideology, level of development, and governmental forms. Its basic logic, concept, and principles are universally applicable, but the practical methods for applying them may range from crude and simple to highly sophisticated depending on the circumstances. It is therefore wrong to conceive of educational planning as offering a rigid monolithic formula that must be imposed uniformly on all situations. ମାନେ ହେଉଛି ଆମେ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲି ଆମେ ଯଦି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ କରୁ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଆମେ ଫାଷ୍ଟରୁ ଜାଣିଛୁ ଯେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇଜ ଆନ୍ ଇନଭେଷ୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ଲଙ୍ଗ ଟର୍ମ ଇନଭେଷ୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଜୁକେସନର ପ୍ଲାନିଂ କରାଯାଏ ଗୋଟେ ସେ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରାଲ ଆଉ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ଫର୍ମରେ ତାକୁ ରଖାଯାଏ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆଡାପ୍ଟେବୁଲ ଆପଣ ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଫିଲ୍ଡରେ କିଛି ପିପୁଲଙ୍କ ଉପରେ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କଲେ କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଉପରେ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କଲେ ସେତେବେଳେ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ରେଜଲ୍ଟ ଯାହା ଭାବିଥିବେ ଆପଣ ଯାହା ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିଥିବେ ସେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ହୁଏତ ଫେଲିୟର ହେଇପାରେ ଫିଲ୍ଡକୁ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲେ ସେଥିପାଇଁ କ'ଣ କରାଯାଏ ନା ଏଟାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଯେ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆଡାପ୍ଟେବୁଲ and to feed the situation that differ in ideology and level of development. So human beings are very uh, flexible. Human nature is very flexible. ଏବେ ଏଇ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ ତାର ନେଚର ଯାହା ଅଛି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ ଇଟ୍ ମେ ବି ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ତେଣୁ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂଟାକୁ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ବୋଲି କୁହାଯାଏ କାହିଁକିନା ଜାଗା ପ୍ଲେସ୍ ଅନୁସାରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଇଏ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯିବ କେତେବେଳେ କେତେବେଳେ ଆଇଡିଓଲୋଜି ଅନୁସାରେ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯିବ ଲେଭେଲ ଅନୁସାରେ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ଆଉ ଅର୍ବାନ ରୁରାଲ ଏସବୁ ପ୍ଲେସ୍କୁ ନେଇକି ମଧ୍ୟ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଚେଞ୍ଜେସ୍ ଦେଖିବା ପାଇଁ ମିଳେ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଯେ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଅଲସୋ ଆଡାପ୍ଟେବୁଲ ଆକର୍ଡିଂ ଟୁ ଦ ସିଚୁଏସନ୍ ଯେମିତି ଆପଣମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପଢ଼େଇବା ପାଇଁ କେତେବେଳେ ଯାଇଥିବେ ସ୍କୁଲ କଲେଜ ଯେଉଁଠି ପଢ଼ଉଥିବେ କହିଥିବେ ଯେ ଆପଣ ଯେଉଁ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିକି ଯାଇଥିବେ ସେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କ'ଣ କ୍ଲାସରୁମ୍ରେ କାମ କରିବ କାମ ନ କଲେ ଆପଣ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ଆଡପ୍ଟ କରନ୍ତି ସେତେବେଳେ ତେଣୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବିଲିଟି ରଖିକି ଯିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼େ ଯେ ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ମୁଁ କ'ଣ କରିବି ସୋ ସିମିଲାରଲି ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଇଜ୍ ଫ୍ଲେକ୍ସିବୁଲ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆଡାପ୍ଟେବୁଲ ଡିପେଣ୍ଡିଂ ଅନ୍ ଦ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ସିଚୁଏସନ୍ସ. Its basic logic, concept, principles are universally applicable, but the practical methods for applying them may range from simple to highly sophisticated. So କେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ତାକୁ sophisticated way ରେ apply କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼େ situation ଆଉ circumstance ନେଇକି କେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ତାକୁ simple way ରେ ମଧ୍ୟ planning କୁ apply କରିପାରିବା. So this is educational planning. Then it is equally wrong to conceive of educational planning as being exclusively concerned with quantitative expansion of education, with making things bigger but not different. So these are some of the misconceptions that quantitative educational planning does not mean always to expand education quantitatively. ଆପଣ ଖାଲି number ବଢ଼େଇକି ଚାଲିବେ ସେମିତି educational planning ର aim ନୁହେଁ. It is qualitative also, qualitative in nature. So you can say that it is both qualitative as well as quantitative. So this misconception arises partly because that is how educational planning has so often been used, but it is not an inherent limitation. It arises also because planning makes extensive use of statistics, but it should be remembered that a statistic is merely the shadow of a fact, and the fact may just as well be qualitative as well as quantitative. So, planning in education will be quantitative as well as for the quantitative expansion as well as for the qualitative growth of the system. Then, if we will see what are the different questions that an educational planner think about, what are the questions when an educational planner plans or think to plan, then what are the questions in his mind. So some of the questions may be like this: what is the physical target for raising students participation in education? ଆମେ ଯଦି ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟସର ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଯେତେବେଳେ କରୁଛୁ ଆମର ମାଇଣ୍ଡରେ ଯେ ପ୍ଲାନର ଥିବ ତା ମାଇଣ୍ଡରେ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍ ଆସିପାରେ ଯେ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ଫିଜିକାଲ ଟାର୍ଗେଟ୍ ଫର୍ ରେଜିଂ ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ପାର୍ଟିସିପେସନ୍ ଇନ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍। ଆମର ଫିଜିକାଲ ଟାର୍ଗେଟ୍ କ'ଣ ହେବ? ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ମେଜର୍ସ ସୁଡ୍ ବି ଟେକେନ୍ ଫର୍ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଏସ୍ୟୁରାନ୍ସ। କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଏସ୍ୟୁରାନ୍ସ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଏତିକି ଦେଖୁଛେ ଆମ ଫିଜିକାଲ ଟାର୍ଗେଟ୍ ଏଇଆ, ତାହେଲେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଏସ୍ୟୁରାନ୍ସର କ'ଣ, ଆମେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟିର କ'ଣ କରିବୁ ଏଥିରେ? ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ level of investment to be made in education? ଏତିକି କାମ କରିବା ପାଇଁ what is the level of investment, and what is the optimum relation between the different level and sector of educational system? डिफरेंट लेवल भितर आम रिलेशनशिप केमी रखिकी जीवु जे आम से टार्गेट रे पहुँचू। आम जो एजुकेशन कथा कही था जमी कहू इट इज ए लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट, तेणु जेहतु लॉन्ग टर्म तो हाउ वी कैन गेट ऑप्टिमम फ्रॉम दिस relation of different level 1 to 10 one student will read, then how we can relate them and how we can relate this sector of education with different other system, how we are going to benefit the other system, how we are going to benefit the other system through education, through educational system, and how can the productivity of educational system be improved. So we first target ଆମେ କାଲି ଯେମିତି discussion କରିଥିଲେ ଯେ productivity is the main target, main aim ଆମର। So how can the productivity of education system be improved? ଆମର ଯଦି productivity ନାହିଁ ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ କ'ଣ କରିବୁ ନା it is of no use, the planning is of no use. So productivity is an important aspect. How can education best be financed? Finance ଆମେ କେମିତି କରିବା ଯଦି planning କରିବା ବୋଲି ଭାବୁଛୁ, then what are the returns on investment of education? This is very important question and everybody thinks about it, and everybody is now asking what are the returns on investment in education. That's why perhaps you can see that now we have a question in our mind that why in India there is a very less percentage of investment on education, because we have that question that I think this question is not properly answered to the planners, to the investors, so that they think that what are the returns on investment in education. So this is the big question now. So, it can also be said that planning is an exercise in attempting to answer all these questions and some other questions also. So, if you answer all these questions, if your plan is going to answer all these questions, then only you can plan. Keeping in mind all these things, you have to plan. Okay. Then in India, the planning exercises are undertaken at the level of both center and the state government, which have the mandate to establish and manage the institutions of higher education. And what are the higher education institutions? The central, state government university and deemed to be university and institutions of national importance like your IIM, IITs, the private universities or self-financing universities or colleges, they fall under the jurisdiction of center and the state government. And there are many approaches and techniques of relating educational planning to developmental planning. So ଏଠି ଆମେ ଦୁଇଟା କଥା କହିବା ଯେ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଏଠି ଗୋଟେ ସ୍ଲାଇଡରେ ରହିଗଲା ଆଉ ଟିକେ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଇଜ୍ ଏ କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁଅସ୍ ପ୍ରୋସେସ୍. So when we think of these questions, then we can see educational planning deals with the future, drawing enlightenment from the past. It is the springboard for future decision and action, but it is more than a mere blueprint. Planning is a continuous process. It is concerned not only with where to go, but how to get there and by what routes. This is planning. This is very important. It is concerned not only with where to go, but with how to get there and by what best route you can get there. That is planning. So its work does not cease when plan gets on paper and has own approval. Planning to be effective must be concerned with its own implementation, with progress made or not made, with unforeseen obstacles that arise and with how to overcome them. Plans are not made to be carved in stone but to be changed. So, time flexibility kotha koile and adapted as a occasion that warrants as plans for one period move into action. Planning for the next must be under way nourished by feedback from the past. ତେଣୁ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଯେତେବେଳେ କରାଯାଏ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ନଟ୍ ଅନଲି ଗୋଟେ ସର୍ଟ ପିରିୟଡ଼ ପାଇଁ କରାଯାଏନି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ଦିଆଯାଏ ସେତେବେଳେ ଆପଣ କହିବେ ଯେ annually we are going to achieve this and after 5 years we are going to achieve this, after 10 years we are going to achieve this type of things. So this is a continuous process ଯେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ 5 ପଢ଼ି ସାରିଲା ପରେ ପିଲା ବସି ପଡ଼ିବ ସେମିତି ନାହିଁ ତ continuous educational कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस रे एजुकेशनल प्लानिंग करा जाए आ एटा को आमे केमिति करिबा कोठी पहुंचीबा केमिति बेस्ट वे रे इंप्लीमेंट करिबा तेणु आमे ताको फ्लेक्सिबल प्लानिंग बोली कहू तेणु जेतेबेले आमे से जो को जो अनफोर्सिन ऑब्स्टैकल अराइज देन हाउ टू ओवरकम इट सेटा मध्ये हम प्लानिंग रो गोटे पार्ट हे कि थाए. Then we will go to ancestry. Before going to ancestry, we will know the what are the types of planning. So the planning may be related to education or it may be related to developmental planning. So then also after that we will discuss what are the different methods of planning. Now we will see the ancestry of educational planning. What are the ancestor? How educational planning came into existence? The educational planning can claim an unbroken ancestry running back to ancient time. Plato, in his Republic, offered an educational plan to serve the leadership needs and political purpose of Athens. So, Plato in the ancestry, if we look for the ancestors of planning, then Plato, you can find Plato there. Then China during the Han dynasties and Peru of the Incas planned their education to fit their particular public purpose. The important function of educational planning in linking a society's educational system to its goals, whatever the goals may be. So, these are the ancestry of educational planning. Then we will proceed to the typical kind of educational planning that went on in most places prior to Second World War for many generations before had these four key features. So prior to World War, that means your second World War କେବେ ହେଇଥିଲା? 1945 ରେ ହେଇଥିଲା ନା କି 40 ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଥିଲା many four key features ଥିଲା how they were planning. Now it was short range. It was short range in outlook, extending only to the next budget year. See, ଆମେ ଯୋଉଟା ଆଗରୁ କହିଲେ ଯେ planning should not be for a short year. There should be it should be a continuous process. କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଗରୁ ଯୋଉଟା ଥିଲା it was short range in outlook, extending only for next budget year, except when facilities had to be built or major new program added, in which case the planning horizon moved forward a bit further. Then it was fragmentary in its coverage of educational system. The parts of the system were planned independently of one another. So it was not a continuous process at that time. I mean, to type planning is a continuous process. Educational planning is a continuous process, but at that time it was fragmentary. Means for 1 year you plan for 1 year, then after that you will wait for the budget or something what is available or program which is available, then you will plan for the next year. Like this it will be in a fragmented manner. The work which actually the educational works which may not be completed in 1 year, so it has to be continued year after year for 5 year or 7 year or 3 year, like this. But um, prior to the World War, it was fragmentary in nature, and the part of the system were planned independently of one another. So a system, as you know that a system, when a system will function, how a system will function, a system generally function with coordination, not independently. Look to your body also. In your body there are different systems, your digestive system, your respiratory system, and you have excretory system. But all these systems, if you will say that they will work independently and nobody will be dependent on other, or nobody they will not coordinate among each other, then what happened to your body? A similar system happened in education also, in fragment planning. So a system, if you want a system to run, then coordination should be there. Without coordination, the system will not run. So it was non-integrated in the sense that educational institutions were planned autonomously without explicit ties to the evolving needs and traits of the society and economy at large. And it was a non-dynamic kind of planning which assumed an essentially static educational model that would retain its main feature intact year and year out. So it was not a continuous process. So there were some problems also. So, due to these drawbacks, a new kind of planning became necessary. So, in the industrialized nations have passed through three educational phases from 1945 to 1970, and now find themselves in a perplexing fourth phase, the reconstruction phase, manpower shortage phase, then rampant expansion phase, and innovation phase, and each yields a new crop of planning problems. So industrialized nation को जेतବେଳେ ମାନେ follow କଲେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିଲେ ହିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିରୁ ଦେଖିଲେ ଯେ 1945 ରୁ 70 ଭିତରେ ସେମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଆମେ କହିଲେ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ୱାର୍ଲଡ ୱାର ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ପ୍ଲାନିଂର ଫ୍ରାଗମେଣ୍ଟେସନ ଥିଲା, କି କାହା ସହିତ ଲିଙ୍କ କରୁନଥିଲେ, ସିଷ୍ଟମ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଲିଙ୍କ କରାଉନଥିଲା, ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଭିତରର ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟ ମାନେ ଲିଙ୍କ ହଉନଥିଲେ। ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କରୁଥିଲେ ନା ପ୍ରପର ସିଷ୍ଟମ ପ୍ରପରଲି ନୋରିସ୍ଡ ହେଇପାରୁନଥିଲା। ତେଣୁ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଅଦର ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଆଲାଇଜ୍ ନେସନ୍ସ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ସେତେବେଳେ ଦେଖାଗଲା ଯେ ସେମାନେ ଏଇଭଳିଆ ଚାରିଟା ଫେଜ୍ ଦେଇକି ଯାଇଥିଲେ, ଯେଉଁଥିରେ କି ସେମାନେ ଶିଖିଲେ ଯେ ନ୍ୟୁ କ୍ରପ୍ ଅଫ୍ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ୍ସ ଇଲ୍ଡ ହେଲା ଏଥିରୁ। ଏଇ ଯେଉଁ ଚାରିଟା ଫେଜ୍ ଦେଇକି ସେମାନେ ଗଲେ ରିକନଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ସନ୍ ଫେଜ୍, ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ସର୍ଟେଜ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ rampant expansion phase, innovation phase, then it yielded a crop of planning, new crop of planning problems. Then what are the different techniques of educational planning, or you can say what are the different methods of planning. So five approaches are available there for planning. If you will ask in future or sometimes that you make a educational plan, so you need to know all these approaches. These five, what are those five approaches? The main approaches and techniques of relating educational planning to development planning, which are which are in use or recommended by various authorities, are as follows. One is a social demand approach. As the name suggests, social demand approach, that means what the society demand, that will be in the plan. The name suggests like this. So this approach takes educational needs in terms of the current demand for education at different levels and projects them on the basis of population increase, age distribution, long term, national or social goals, and on the basis of what is known about state and consumer preferences for education. Social demand approach କ'ଣ କରେ ନା ସେ ଏଇସବୁ ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟର ଗୁଡ଼ିକୁ ସେ ଦେଖିବ କୋଉ ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟର ନା ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ ଅଫ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ଇନ୍ ଦ ଫିଲ୍ଡ ତାର ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ କ'ଣ ଅଛି ପପୁଲେସନ୍ ଇନକ୍ରିଜ୍ ଅନୁସାରେ ଦେଖିବ ଏଜ୍ ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ୍ ଅନୁସାରେ ଲଙ୍ଗ୍ ଟର୍ମ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ୍ ଅର୍ ସୋସିଆଲ୍ ଗୋଲ୍ ଅନୁସାରେ ଦେଖିବ ସେ ଦେଖିବ ଯେ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ସୋସିଆଲ୍ ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ what the society demand about education. Then among such goals and preferences are universal literacy, universal compulsory primary education, cultural objective. So these are some of the demand. The stress is upon education as social infrastructure for development purpose and as an end in itself. The financial implications of these targets are then considered. Social demand approach कौन कहूची ना social demand approach कहूची what is the demand of the society. First these demands are collected from the society and then the financial part is thought about. So these are the demands and what is the financial need and what finance we have and how we to what extent we will plan. Suppose you have some problems or demands of the society, that is universal literacy is a demand, universal compulsory. At a time, all these 4 5 demands may come, but you have to plan to up to which year we will achieve which part. ଯେମିତି ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଏନ୍ଇପି ଯେତେବେଳେ ହେଲା ଏନ୍ଇପି 2020 ହେଲା ସେଠି ଆପଣ ଯଦି ପଢିଥିବେ ଦେଖିଥିବେ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି ଯେ we will achieve this foundational literacy and numeracy up to the year 2025. So there is a target. Social demand ଅନୁସାରେ ଯେ ଆମର ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ ଆମେ ଫାଉଣ୍ଡେସନାଲ ଲିଟରେସି ନ୍ୟୁମେରାସି ଆଚିଭ୍ କରିବା ବଟ୍ କେତେ ଇୟର ଭିତରେ କରିବା ତ ଫାଷ୍ଟ କୋଉଟା କରିବା ସେସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କରାଯାଇଥାଏ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସୋସିଆଲ ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ ଆପ୍ରୋଚରେ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ କରାଯାଏ ଯେ କେତେ ବର୍ଷ ଭିତରେ ଆମେ କରିବା. So there is a stress upon education infrastructure development. At a time ସବୁ ନିଆଯାଇ ପାରିବନି ଏଇ ଜିନିଷ ସୋସିଆଲ ଡିମାଣ୍ଡ ଯାହା ଆସିବ. The usual result is that the funds required for the educational expansion are found to be larger than those available either to launch or to sustain it on the basis of projection of national income and revenue. A compromise is struck and what is deemed to be a feasible plan emerge cut down to the funds expected to be available. जोटा मु कहली एबे कथा जे funds जेतिक available funds availability अनुसार हमें cut down करिया केते funds available अछि हमें केते वर्तमान ପାଇଁ केते देई परिबा केते वर्ष भितरे एति देई परिबा पुणी नेक्स्ट funds आसले हमें केमती नेक्स्ट स्टेप को प्रोसीड करबा. That is the goal here. Then this is the traditional approach and may work satisfactorily in high income countries. Although even in these, concern over flagging rates of growth and ever increasing competition in export market is leading to increased emphasis on the contribution of education to technological progress and productive efficiency. So this is the social demand approach. The next approach is your manpower approach. manpower planning approach or manpower requirement. What is about this requirement? This approach is based on the fact that the main link of education with economic development is through the knowledge and skills it produces in the labor force. To the extent that the educational system produces qualified people in the right number and places, the major part of the economic and social contribution of educational planning is achieved, provided that in doing so, the educational system has not consumed so great a proportion of resources to set back the development plan itself. ତେଣୁ ସେଠି ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଆପ୍ରୋଚରେ ସେ କହୁଛି ଯେ ଆମ ପାଖରେ କେତେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଆଭେଲେବୁଲ୍ ଅଛି ସୋ ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଇନ୍ ଟର୍ମସ୍ ଅଫ୍ ନଲେଜ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ସ୍କିଲ୍ସ ନଲେଜ୍ ସ୍କିଲ୍ସ ହିସାବରେ କେତେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଆଭେଲେବୁଲ୍ ଅଛି ଆମ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ଆକର୍ଡ଼ିଂଲି ହେବ ଆମର ଇକୋନୋମିକ୍ କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ଦେଖାହେଲା ସୋସିଆଲ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ୍ ଦେଖାଯିବ ଆଉ କେତେ ନଲେଜ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ସ୍କିଲ୍ ଟର୍ମରେ ଆମ ପାଖରେ କେତେ ୱାର୍କ ଫୋର୍ସ ଅଛି କେତେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଅଛି ତାକୁ ନେଇକି ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ କରିବୁ So various methods exist of estimating future manpower requirements and the demand they will make on the education system. ସେମାନେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କଲା ବେଳକୁ ଏ କଥା ବି ଚିନ୍ତା କରିବେ ଆମ ପାଖରେ କେତେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାରର ଫ୍ୟୁଚର ରିକ୍ୱାରମେଣ୍ଟ କ'ଣ ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିଦେଇଥିବା ଆମେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଆଗକୁ ଯାଇକି ବର୍ଷେ ସେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କାମ କଲା ପରେ ବା 6 ମାସ କାମ କଲା ପରେ ସେ କ'ଣ କରିବ ନା ମେନ୍ ପାୱାରର ରିକ୍ୱାରମେଣ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଫୁଲଫିଲ୍ କରିପାରୁନଥିବା ସୋ ଦେ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଫୁଟାଇଲ୍ ସୋ that's right estimating the future manpower requirement and the demand they will make on the education system. Then secondly, the educational component of different occupation changes with technological progress and the rise of educational standards. A future limitation on the manpower approach is that it leaves out of account provision for education as a consumer good and it makes no provision for social minimum. It is tempting to believe that these objectives might be obtained as byproduct of training for occupation by influencing curriculum, but this is unlikely. So, secondly, what is happening? The educational component of different occupation uh, changes with technological progress and rise of educational standards. So further limitation is also there. So it look towards it as a byproduct of training occupation. Then the occupation need of economy are not the whole of society's need for education. So, and in addition, it has to be made for women and girls who are not gainfully employed and for the amount of education which a country requires to fulfill its cultural, political, and social goal. It is also necessary to assure that educational output will grow faster than demand to the degree required to stimulate growth without creating problems of unemployment. ଏଇ ସବୁ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଯେଉଁ ଆପ୍ରୋଚଟା ଆମେ କହିଲେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଆପ୍ରୋଚ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ୍ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଏଥିରେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ହେଉଛି ମେନ୍ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଆମେ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ପାଇଁ ଦେଖିବା ସହିତ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ୱେଦର ଦେ ଆର୍ ସଫିସିଏଣ୍ଟ ଫର୍ ଫ୍ୟୁଚର୍ ଅର୍ ନଟ୍ ଆଉ ଆମ ପ୍ଲାନିଂର ଏଣ୍ଡ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଆମେ ସେତିକି ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଦେଇପାରିବା ଆଉ ପ୍ରଡ୍ୟୁସ୍ କରିକି ବି ନୂଆ ମେନ୍ ପାୱାର ଦେଇପାରିବା କି ନାହିଁ ହେଉଛି ଆମର ମେନ୍ ଟାର୍ଗେଟ୍. The educational plan must also provide for turnover of employment and continuous adjustment between educational system and the socio-economic environment. Full account must be taken to the wastage involved in various educational systems. So wastage, you have to look into the wastage also. That what we are doing, that is you have to ensure that whether it is a wastage or not. So wastage को हमको prevent କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ and as well as students switching in midstream, students and parents preference, locational equilibrium to supply and demand and adjustment required by the technological changes. Then finally there is a problem that the composition or the product mix of the development plan leading to occupational demand must not be determined irrespective of educational requirement. The composition of target product mix and of the investment program undertaken to achieve it must depend on part of relative cost of various type of educational program needed. So investment in education and in all other sector of the development program should be mutually determined. So what to be invested in education and in other sector that to be mutually determined ना कि हमें education को सब दबा कि other को सब दबा mutually हमें देखिए पूरा calculation करिए जो what is the investment in education and what that much we are investing in education so in return what we are getting and in other sector how we are contributing to other sector and how we are getting in return from the other sector. So Professor Arthur Lewis in his article Education and Economic Development dealing with what he call investment education and states one can calculate the percentage of the age cohort who should receive secondary education from the formula like this. He has given the formula and this according to this formula x is equal to so this is the calculation formula, not necessary for you. So, but if you want to know, you can see X is the proportion of age cohort to be recruited, N is the ratio of number of secondary type of job to adult population, M is ratio of number of age cohort to adult population. Like this, every denotations are there. If you want to calculate, you can take it and calculate, but not needed. So this is the formula given by the Professor Lewis formula. It does not take into account the fact that as national income rises, the proportion of the labor force to the total population normally becomes less. This is caused by the raising of age of entry into the labor force by lowering the age of retirement and by the reduction of number of worker, marginal labor force, etc. Thus, quantitative estimate of educational requirement based solely on labor force demand 10 to 15 years ahead a country's overall educational lead. So this type of calculations are there and some planners are there and they are using this type of formulas, calculating everything, what will be in the present situation, what will be there in the future situation. So accordingly, they are planning. So and following different approaches. Then other approaches are also there, like your education output ratio method, the aggregate method, human resource assessment method. So all these methods they use to find out the or they make the educational plan. And then we will discuss some points about the 5 year plans. What are the different 5 year plans? Then we will go to the role of education in development of the nation. So, ever since the independence of India, developmental plans for a period of 5 years are being developed by the Planning Commission with the inputs received from the states. All such plans from very first time to the most recent one. In 2014, when new government took charge, it has scrapped formulating 5 year plans. Since then, no plans, either annual or 5 year plans, are being formulated. 2014 परଠୁ ଆଉ ହଉନି 5 year plan. The Niti Aayog is there, and Niti Aayog, the full form is National Institution for Transforming India, that is Niti Aayog, and established in 2015 by replacing Planning Commission, which is a policy think tank of the Government of India. Established with the aim to achieve sustainable development goals with cooperative federalism by fostering the involvement of state governments of India in the economic policy making process using a bottom up approach. The staff of the Planning Commission and host of institution under it was written in the newly created Niti Aayog. So, a planning commission was there in the Indian government of India, and when it was closed, then all the staff are also written in the Niti Aayog. Now there is no planning commission. Niti Aayog is functioning, and before that, We have, as we have told, there are 12 5-year plans before Niti Aayog, before 2014. So these are represented in the tabular form. That what was the focus area of first 5-year plan? Agricultural development. Second 5-year plan, developing the public sector and rapid industrialization. ତାର ଫୋକସ୍ ଥିଲା ଯେ rapid କେମିତି industrialization ହେବ ଏଇଠି ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଆଡ୍ କରିବା ଯେ ଫାଷ୍ଟ 5-year ପ୍ଲାନ୍ର ଫୋକସ୍ ଥିଲା ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚରାଲ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ଆଉ ସେଠି ଏଜୁକେସନର ଫୋକସ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ହାୟର ଏଜୁକେସନ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ଇନିସିଏଟିଭ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ଫାଷ୍ଟ 5-year ପ୍ଲାନ୍ରେ ତାର ମେଜର ଯେଉଁ ଥିଲା major achievements first 5-year plan रे higher education ପାଇଁ higher education initiative ଭିତରେ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା University Grant Commission was established in 1953 first 5-year plan ଥିଲା ମସିହା ଥିଲା କେତେ 1951 to 1956 ମସିହା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ first 5-year plan ଥିଲା ଯୋଉଥିରେ କି major କାମ ହେଇଥିଲା higher education ପାଇଁ in 1953 UGC was established to oversee university education and funding that we have discussed in the previous class. And strengthening of existing universities and colleges. Why UGC was established? UGC was established for strengthening of existing university and colleges, focus on teacher training and technical education, and it was the first step, you can say, the first 5-year plan was the first step towards systematic higher education and increased government involvement in education planning. So, this is all about higher education in the first 5-year plan. Though major focus area was agricultural development. Then, second 5-year plan, though it has a focus on developing the public sector and rapid industrialization, second 5-year plan कितने कितने थिला 1956 to 1960. So it was a time for industrialization, rapid industrialization, technical education. So its focus was on industrial development and self-sufficiency, development of self-sufficiency. And there are also some points for higher education initiative. So establishment of Indian Institute of Technology (IITs) to boost the technical education, that was there in the second 5-year plan. Expansion of engineering and science colleges, emphasis on research and development, and this type of initiative created a strong foundation for technical and scientific advancement in India, and the IITs later became world-renowned institution also. So second 5-year fast ଆମେ ଆମ ଖାଦ୍ୟ ଉପରେ ଗୁରୁତ୍ୱ ଦେଲେ ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚର ଉପରେ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ'ଣ କଲେ ନା ଆମେ କହିଲେ ଏବେ ଆମେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ସାଇନ୍ସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଟେକ୍ନୋଲୋଜିର କରିବା ତେଣୁ ତା IIT ଉପରେ ଏମ୍ଫାସିସ୍ ଆସିଲା ଏକ୍ସପାନସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଇଞ୍ଜିନିୟରିଂ କଲେଜ ସାଇନ୍ସ କଲେଜ ଏସବୁ ଏମ୍ଫାସିସ୍ ଦିଆହେଲା ତାପରେ ନେକ୍ସଟ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ 5-year ପ୍ଲାନରେ ଓକେ Then if you will see third 5-year plan, agriculture and improvement in the production of wheat. ଏଇଟା କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ ହେଇଥିଲା ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚର ଆଣ୍ଡ ଇମ୍ପ୍ରୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ପ୍ରଡକ୍ସନ ଅଫ୍ ହ୍ୱିଟ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଫର ଇକୋନୋମିକ ଗ୍ରୋଥ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଥାର୍ଡର ମେନ୍ ଫୋକସ୍ ଥିଲା ଯେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଫର ଇକୋନୋମିକ ଗ୍ରୋଥ ତେଣୁ ଇକୋନୋମିକୁ ବଢ଼େଇବା ପାଇଁ ହେଲେ ଆମକୁ ପ୍ରଡକ୍ସନ ଉପରେ ଏମ୍ଫାସିସ୍ ରହିଥିଲା ତ ଏଥିରେ ଫୋକସ୍ ଥିଲା ପୋଭାର୍ଟି ରିଡକ୍ସନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଆର ଫୋକସ୍ ରହିଥିଲା ଏଠି ହାୟର ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇନିସିଏଟିଭ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ହାୟର ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇନିସିଏଟିଭ ବି ଥିଲା ଏଠି ଯୋଉଟାକି ହେଉଛି ଏକ୍ସପାନସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚରାଲ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟିଜ୍ ଟୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦ ଗ୍ରୀନ୍ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ ହ୍ୱିଟ୍ ପ୍ରଡକ୍ସନ ଯୋଉ ବଢ଼େଇବା କଥା କୁହାହେଲା ଏଠି ଟୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦ ଗ୍ରୀନ୍ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ expansion of agricultural universities ଉପରେ ଫୋକସ୍ ରହିଥିଲା increased focus on vocational training ଯେହେତୁ ପୋଭର୍ଟି ରିଡକ୍ସନ ୟାର ମେନ୍ ଫୋକସ୍ ଅର୍ ଏମ୍ ରହିଥିଲା There will increased focus on vocational training, more funding for higher education institutions, and this created or this helped to develop human resources for India's growing industries. And also it strengthened the link between education and economic development. Whether we are only investing on education or not, or giving something, it is giving some output. At that time in the third 5 year plan, it was found that it strengthened the link between education and economic development. Okay, after this period, after 66, third 5 year plan up to 66, 1966. Then from 1969 to 74, the fourth 5 year plan came into existence. That fourth 5 year plan has a focus area like you're developing agricultural sector to support small and medium farms. So this is the year where the stabilization and reforms were emphasized. फास्ट आम प्रोडक्शन कले प्रोडक्शन कलापर आम स्टेबिलाईजेसन दरकार तार से आम स्मॉल एंड मीडियम फार्म को सहित जोड़ा है सेठी तो फोकस थिला ग्रोथ विथ स्टेबिलिटी एंड रिड्यूसिंग इनइक्वालिटी and thus higher education initiatives which are taken in this fourth 5 year plan are strengthening of Indian Institute of Management IIMs for business education, development of open university and distance learning models, more research grants and scholarship for students. These were the higher education initiative, keeping in view the aim or focus of the plan. And it also this type of initiative also helped to improve the improved access to higher education, and it led to the establishment of business and management studies in India. So this was about the fourth 5 year plan. Fifth 5 year plan focus area is intensifying new technologies, systematically evaluating the country's groundwater resources, increasing food grain yield by 3% per year during the plan period. And its main point is education for social development. You can say all these things as education for social development. And focus is also for removal of poverty, self reliance, and employment. And what are the higher education initiatives? The higher education initiatives like your expansion of women's education in higher studies, inequality ଉପରେ focus କରିଥିଲା ତେଣୁ higher study ରେ women ମାନଙ୍କର participation को encourage करा होता expansion of women's education in higher study, increase in medical college to boost healthcare education, national policy on education drafted to shape future policy. And this type of initiatives empower marginalized communities through education and laid the groundwork for future education reforms. So this is fifth 5 year plan, and when the sixth 5 year plan, sixth 5 year plan focused on rapid industrialization, increased employment, poverty reduction, technological and self-reliance, and it also focused on the medical technical education. Then seventh 5 year plan, last 5 year one, this is the same thing. Then fifth, sixth, seventh 5 year plan from 85 to 90. This plan stressed on removal of obsolescence and modernization of technical education as well as fogging of beneficial linkage with industry and early development agency. ଏଥିରେ ଆହୁରି 7th 5 year plan ରେ ଥିଲା computer education introduced and emphasis on modernization. Then 8th 5 year plan 92 to 97, it is liberalization, integrated approach to higher education. एठी हायर एजुकेशन को टिके इंपोर्टेंस दिया हला इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच टू हायर एजुकेशन, एक्सीलेंस इन हायर एजुकेशन, एक्सपांशन ऑफ एजुकेशन इन एन इक्विटेबल एंड कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव मैनर, in the process making the higher education system financially self-supporting. Then next is your ninth 5-year plan. Ninth Ninth 5-year plan is 97 to 2002, and its focus was on institutional consolidation and growth, creation of independent colleges, autonomous colleges, and conferring autonomous status to UGC on selected colleges. Then 10th 5-year plan was from 2002 to 2007, and it is increasing access and quality, adoption of state-specific curriculum, modification and vocationalization, networking on the use of information technology, distance education, convergence of formal, non-formal, distant and IT education institution. 11th plan focused on increasing higher education enrollment for students. This plan also prioritized IT education institution, non-formal education, distance education, etc. So, in 10th 5-year plan, more emphasis was given to higher education, like the university and higher education sector was attended mostly in this plan, and the number of universities expanded also, and many of the universities also continue to maintain high standard of education, and there is a matter of serious concern at that time in the 10th plan that expansion in quantity has been accompanied by a fall in quality. এটা দেখা গেল 10th প্ল্যানটা দেখে জানা পড়লা। Then modernization of syllabus, examination reform, and greater attention to issues of governance of universities, colleges, all require urgent attention at that time. 10th ପ୍ଲାନ୍ରେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ଏଜୁକେସନକୁ ପୁଣି ଫୋକସ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ବା ହାୟର ଏଜୁକେସନକୁ ଫୋକସ୍ କରାଗଲା ଏଇ ୱେରେ ଦେଖାଗଲା ଯେ ଏଠି କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଟି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏନହାନ୍ସ ହେଇଛି ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍ ହେଇଛି ସେତେବେଳେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଫଲ୍ ହେଇଛି ତେଣୁ ସିଲାବସ୍କୁ ପୁଣି ରିଫର୍ମ କରାହେଲା ଏକ୍ଜାମିନେସନ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ କରାହେଲା ଆଣ୍ଡ greater attention to issues of governance of universities and colleges को अधिका emphasis दियागला all require urgent attention. Part of the problem facing universities is the inadequate provision of budgetary resources from the government. It was also found that budgetary resources inadequate. So the budget resources are limited, and such resources as are available need to be allocated to expanding primary education. It is important to recognize that the universities must make greater effort to supplement resources from the government. And universities' fees are unrealistically low. ଦେଖାଗଲା ଯେ ବଜେଟ୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ କମ୍ ହେଉଛି so fees are also low, and in many universities have not been raised in decades, and this policy is only starving the universities of the minimum resources needed to ensure quality education and is not in the interest of the student. So substantial hike in university fee is essential. এই কথাটা 10th প্ল্যানে ফি হাইক কথা কहाला so that universities can get some resource. And resources raised through adjustment of fees can be supplemented by contribution from industry, constituting funds or trust like Bharat Shiksha Kosh, etc. It is also necessary to encourage this establishment of private universities. It was private universities ର କଥା ଆସିଲା ସେଠି ତାକୁ enhancement ଦିଆହେଇଥିଲା ଏଥିରେ 10th 5-year plan ରେ. Then 11th 5-year plan, 12th 5-year plan is also there after 2012 to 17, and ୟାର focus or emphasis area ଥିଲା eliminating gender and social gaps in education, ensuring secondary education for all by 2017, eliminating gender and social gaps in school enrollment, and also special focus in 12th 5-year plan was on centrally sponsored scheme and establishment of diet, functions of diet. Sorry, okay, just a minute. So this was all about the 5-year plans. Now we will go to the objectives of planning for higher education. So higher education is mostly focused in the 10th plan. So here we can take the objective from the 10th plan only. So what are the objectives of 10th plan on development of higher education? These are, one is a general education or general objective was to achieve a profound transformation of higher education in order that it becomes an effective promoter of sustainable human development, and at the same time improve the relevance with closer links with world of work and achieve quality in its teaching, research, business, community extension functions, including lifelong learning. This was the general objective of 10th plan in higher education. Then what is the specific objective? The specific objectives are the relevance of higher education, quality, evaluation, and accreditation. The relevance of higher education means it wanted that the higher education need to link or connect to other areas of improvement and transformation in our country. So what is the relevance of higher education that need to be focused? That's why specific objective is written in this way: the relevance of higher education to other parts, that means economy, society, work sector, job sector, like this you have to mean it. Then quality, evaluation, and accreditation, research and development is one of the objective. Outreach activities in business and community and lifelong learning, community relationship through outreach activities, business and community and lifelong learning. This was also the specific objective. The knowledge and use of new information and communication technologies, management and financing, export of higher education, and reorientation of international cooperation. So these were some of the specific objectives of 10th plan regarding higher education. Then the plan also provides the agenda for higher education in 21st century. The scope and demand for higher education is increasing, and the new paradigm in higher education involves creation of intellects, and that means promotion of global standards in institution of higher education of world standards, and also training of skilled human power at a mass level without compromising on quality. So this was the agenda for 21st century. The next is your technical and management education. The 10th 5-year plan, that is 2002 to 2007, the main emphasis was on the different aspect or issues like your technical and management education during the 10th plan would be a continuing focus on increasing intake, quality, including research and technology. So these were the key issues and key focus area in education. Other issues also include the faculty development, optimal utilization of resources through networking, development of information technology, education modernization of the curriculum, international benchmarking, developing capacity in new and emerging technology area, strategic planning and management of the technical education system, and developing the informal sector. Then technical and management education is provided through a large number of institutions in the central and state sector, as well as self-financing institution under the private management. This was also emphasized, and there has been a phenomenal increase in number of institutions which have made significant contributions to the growth of technical and professional manpower in the country. The technical or management education sector is based with several problems which include lack of highly qualified faculty. In the technical institution there are lack of highly qualified faculty for knowledge in institutions, shortage of funds, inadequate linkage between the institution and industry. So all these are the problems at that time in the 10th plan period. So the 10th plan stipulated that the thrust of knowledge-based industries calls for strengthening the existing infrastructure, modernization of laboratories, workshops, libraries, computer facilities, and research and development. So it planned on the basis of the problems available at that time. And in order to upgrade the quality of technical education, several new institutions have been proposed in the 10th plan to make the system flexible and to enable the students to learn at their own time and space. Distance and web based learning is planned in various engineering and management institutions. Education technology centers are being established and also strengthened at selected institutions. These centers are responsible for preparation of course materials and multimedia software to put them online. And in the area of biotechnology, full-fledged departments are being established at the various institutions of national importance for undertaking teaching and research programs. The advances in biotechnology would provide competitive aids to the country in long-term development of biotechnology potential. So these were some of the steps taken. And in medical education, what happened? So we have discussed about the technical management education, biotechnology, and biotechnology is coming under this technical management education, then medical education. So over the plan, the emphasis in medical education has shifted from expansion of facilities to the improvement of system of education. So, as there is mentioned in the sixth five-year plan, the policy of government is not to increase the number of medical colleges or their intake capacity. The emphasis would be on bringing about qualitative improvement in medical education and training. And this position was reiterated in the seventh plan, which, besides laying emphasis on improving the quality of training in medical education, laid stress on making it need based and community centered. Then the 10th plan merely noted that pharmaceutical institution would be supported for starting advanced level course. So it is 10 in the 10th plan period. Then agricultural education and veterinary science also was included there. The priority area are to make agricultural education and research useful to farmers and to give priority to human resource development with special emphasis on weaker section of the society. And the basic objectives of development of higher education in regarding agricultural education and veterinary science, what are the basic objectives? The first one is consolidation and improvement of the system of higher education so as to make it more relevant to the national needs and aspirations. Then second objective for agricultural sector is the provision of due access in higher education to weaker and deprived section through promotion of open and distance learning. That's why open and distance learning was emphasized at that time. Promotion of postgraduate education and research programs of an interdisciplinary character. Then restructuring and modernization of courses at the undergraduate and postgraduate stages, selective expansion of facilities for professional education in order to meet the needs of professionally trained manpower in crucial areas of development, then accelerating the pace of research and development so that give uh, It can contribute to the process of scientific and technological development. Then, inculcating social and cultural value among the recipients of higher education so that they could become useful, productive, and democratic member of the Indian society. Then, what is the progress of higher education throughout these years? So there are so many statistical value, quantitative values are there. We have to look into it. Progress of higher education, quantitatively progress, how the progress occurred. Higher secondary schools or junior colleges in past 5 year plan, there is 7,416 colleges. Students 15 lakhs only. But see in the 2000, that is your fifth plan, the number is increasing gradually and teachers number is also increasing, but it is not increasing proportionately. Okay, so this type of thing happened in the progress. Then expenditure in the 5 year plan, how the expenditure is also increasing, but it is it was not able to fulfill this. Then growth of higher education institutions, students and teachers. In the student teacher ratio, student 1.74 lakh in 50 to 51 time. Then teachers were only 0.24 lakh. But in 2001, student number is also increasing, teacher number increased, but not in proportion to the student number. So this is the quantitative improvement. So quantitatively, if we will see, the it is expanding quantitatively sufficiently. It is expanding in every direction in faculty position, in subject-wise faculty position. You can see art, science, commerce like this. But qualitatively, what is happening there, we will discuss here. So, if we will see the table of level-wise student, including women enrollment in the department, we can also find in the growth process that graduate level there is 89% enrollment, whereas in PhD level there is 0.54% enrollment. So finally, it was interpreted from this quantitative data that in technical education there was considerable progress in the expansion of technical education, and after the Second World War, the All India Council for Teacher Education (AICTE) was set up for advising the central and state government on the schemes of development of technical and vocational education. And early in 1947, the Scientific Manpower Committee was given the task of assessing the requirement of scientific and technical personnel in relation to the post-war development program, which were then under consideration. A number of steps were taken to increase the facilities for technical education before the first 5 year plan was launched, and these included establishment of Indian Institute of Technology (IIT) at Kharagpur, selection of 14 technical training institutions for further development, the provision of research training scholarship and stipend for practical training, and other scheme for promotion of scientific and technical education and research. When it was found that there is quantitative growth, then some decisions were taken on the basis of the data also. So as a consequences of various programs initiated under the 5 year plans, there has been a considerable expansion in the number of institutions of engineering and technology, and intake capacity output was also focused, and it was mentioned in the quantitative data, you can refer. Then medical education, if you will go, there has been a sizable increase in the number of medical colleges. Medical education ଆମେ କହିଲେ ଏଠି ୟା ଉପରକୁ କହିଲେ ଯେ ମେଡ଼ିକାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନରେ ତା ପାଇଁ କିଛି ସଜେସନ୍ ଦିଆହେଇଥିଲା, ଅବଜେକ୍ଟିଭ୍ ତାର କିଛି ରଖା ହେଇଥିଲା ଯେ ହାଉ ଟୁ ଇନକ୍ରିଜ୍ ଇଟ୍। ତେଣୁ ମେଡ଼ିକାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଦେଖାହେଲା ତ from 42 medical colleges in 1951-52 to the number increased up to the number of enrollment increased up to 2.63 lakhs in 2001, and 18 medical universities were established. And the institution was also imparting education in various indigenous medicines, namely Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Yoga, naturopathy, and also homeopathy continued to grow and enroll large number of students. Then what happened to agricultural education and veterinary sciences? There has been a considerable expansion in the enrollment and institutions catering for agriculture and veterinary science. The number of colleges rose from 26. There are 26 veterinary and agriculture college in first 5-year plan, but gradually it is increased, and 40 agricultural universities in 2001. Then, from the quantitative data of stage-wise enrollment, it has been also found that the bulk enrollment, जोटा भी गोटे problem भी ହେଇକି ଦେଖାଦେଲା ଯେ bulk enrollment ହେଲା, but we have not that much of infrastructure, that much of teaching faculty, so that also created a problem at that time. And about 89% is constituted by the undergraduate stage. The postgraduate and research student account for about 10% of the total student enrollment. Less than 1% student can take up full diploma or certificate course. Admission enrollment अधिका बढ़ीथिला किंतु सर्टिफिकेट नेला बेलକୁ नंबर कमुतला because fail system was also there. Then faculty wise enrollment ମଧ୍ୟ बढ़िला, faculty बढ़िला but not proportionately. Then sex wise enrollment भी बढ़ीथिला से proportion रे women मानको सिते अधिका emphasis भी mean time रे दिया हैछि. Institutional breakup करागला तापरे so these were found from the quantitative data. Then we will go to qualitative improvement. So, in to counteract the erosion in the quality of higher education, when quantity increases, gradually it was observed that quality is falling in the 10th plan. And to counteract this erosion of quality of higher education, various suggestions have been made in the plans also by the University Grant Commission and other specialized bodies set up by the central government in the field of higher education. So in the first plan, some suggestions were made like raising the age limit of admission to universities, the encouragement of an atmosphere of discussion and free thinking in the universities, increasing the number of working days to at least 180 days. A number of other measures were also undertaken during the subsequent plans. For example, it has been suggested that the affiliated colleges which have been responsible for the bulk of university enrollment should be given financial assistance for their general improvement. It has also been accepted that a few colleges selected on the basis of their achievements, existing facilities, and potentialities would be provided assistance for their fuller development. Promising university departments were also developed as Center of Advanced Studies. The scheme is intended to encourage the pursuit of excellence and teamwork in study and research and to accelerate the realization of international standard in the specific field. And all the 5-year plans stressed the need for improvement in quality of teaching and research. And from starting from the first to the 10th plan, for the issue of quality improvement would be addressed through modernization of syllabi. They have found out some strategies, like they thought that modernization of syllabi means the syllabus, increased research, networking of universities, department, and increased allocation of funds that may enhance the quality. They thought like this and took all these strategies. Then initiatives were taken to encourage the institutions to adapt modern method of teaching and learning, develop learner friendly teaching material, and change their evaluation method. The universities and colleges are encouraged to establish internal quality assurance cell IQSC and go through the assessment and accreditation process. That was stated in the 10th plan, but it was not functional in most of the higher education institutions. But after NEP 2020, it is now becoming functional in all colleges and universities. In the area of distance education, the overall progress with regard to expansion and diversification of activities, it's very significant. Since the inception of the planning era, efforts have been made to take advantage of educational technology so as to not only to improve access and equity, but to enhance quality of education. So quality was the main concern here in the 10th plan. Starting from the 51 to 2000, they within a very long time period they found that yes, there is quantity increase but not quality. So quality was the main concern here. The development of open and distance education system, which cater for nearly one fifth of total student in higher education, has been very significant in augmenting opportunities for learning, especially for the deprived group like your rural communities and women, and for those working population who wish to pursue higher studies. So that's why open and distance education was given emphasis for helping the rural communities and deprived group who are unable to attend the classes regularly. So the enrollment with regard to the open university, that is also increased. The table is showing here that it is increased. The distance education institution offer all types and all level of program in higher education, professional education, technical, vocational education, etc. And the use of information communication technology and support of conventional system have provided necessary impetus for growth of distance education. So distance education growth ମଧ୍ୟ ସେବେଠୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହୋଇଛି, but after COVID it has taken a great speed, and with the technological support also it is going on. So all these measures, what we have told, these measures, we are intended to bring a qualitative improvement. They were intended to bring the qualitative improvement in the system of higher education, and it was expected that this will make the system more responsive to the emerging requirement of the society. But what happened? Then you have to analyze here that whether these steps have brought about the qualitative improvement or not. Then the postgraduate education and research. What were the steps taken there? It has been also recognized that postgraduate courses occupy a key position in the university system, but the schemes have been launched to increase facilities for postgraduate course and research, and the selected university departments have been developed as center of excellence. Some university departments were selected and they were developed as center of excellence for the PhD, postgraduate education and research, and interdisciplinary research facilities have been given special encouragement. And more departments are proposed to be brought within the fold of special assistance program initiated by UGC. This also exists also till now, that when you want to do the research, then UGC will give the special assistance in order to allow certain promising departments in the university to operate their postgraduate program and research facilities at standard approaching international level. Then its another purpose was to promote excellence in terms of quality. So, the UGC has been providing development grants to improve infrastructure and basic facilities in the universities so as to achieve at least the threshold level and to promote excellence of education. So at least you achieve the threshold level of excellence. It was the aim of this um, program. Then special grants were also provided to the institution in backward regions for replacement of outdated and old equipments and modernization of facilities. Support is also provided for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research studies. Then also priority has been given to the strengthening infrastructure. Top priority has been given to strengthen the infrastructure of existing postgraduate department, and this involves the provision of adequate academic as well as technical and other support staff, removal of obsolescence, modernization of laboratories, and strengthening of workshop, enrichment of library, as well as reprographic facilities. Reprographic facilities means the suppose you are developing an instructional booklet or handbook, these are the reprographic facilities also increased in the university. The universities have been advised to ensure the creation of adequate faculties before the launch of new program in existing department or starting of new department. They have to appoint adequate number of faculties. But it has also been suggested that the culture of sharing of available facilities should be inculcated among the users, and expensive equipment may be pooled together as central facilities. In the case of developed universities, new specialization or courses or department could be opened with an interdisciplinary approach. Teaching and research in such emerging areas should be undertaken, which could be sustained by existing faculties within the university with a minimal support. In the case of other universities, opening of new departments should be conditioned by overall need of such department within the state or region as a whole. So these are the provisions made for postgraduate and research. And for the development of collegiate institution, UGC has introduced the College of Humanities and Social Science Improvement Program and College Science Improvement Program, COSIP and COSIP. The intention is to accelerate the capabilities of students undergoing these courses and to initiate a process of self renewal. So that's why UGC has introduced this program like your College Humanities and Social Science Improvement Program COSIP and College of Science Improvement Program COSIP. And the UGC has planned to promote quality and relevance in higher education in the 10th plan by initiating complementary skill oriented courses. The career development of students is promoted through courses with a professional focus. A major program of vocationalization of education is also initiated in 35 subject. Vocational education is initiated at undergraduate level, and new program in such area as information technology, biotechnology, biomedicine, genetic engineering, this type of subjects were proposed to be introduced in a large number of universities, and also it was initiated. Initiatives for teacher training and staff development would also be supported. So you have to think of the what are the qualitative changes in the technical education, what are the qualitative changes in the postgraduate education. You have to think of and reflect on it. So growth and open distance learning, then problem of university development. So these are the problems of university development, that renewal of higher education to critical to face the challenges of 21st century. These were the problems we have discussed. Yes, no, we have not discussed this. So growth of open distance learning, this is a data only, statistical data. So problems, what are the problems of university development? So, in the higher education through the 5 year plans, now we will discuss the major problems confronted by the system of higher education and what are the measures taken to effectively deal with some of those problems. Then, what is the complexity of financial inputs in higher education and what are the major problems in financing. Then, what are the problems of university development? The first one, you may say, a renewal of higher education is critical to face the challenges of 21st century. The challenges which are mainly arising from global competitiveness and knowledge-intensive socioeconomic activities. Some of the incongruities which are responsible for the dysfunctional nature of the system are as follows. So, some of the incongruities are given here. One is your unabated expansion. The expansion of facilities for higher education, training, and research should be commensurate with the requirement for ensuring high quality of relevant programs and for meeting the manpower needs of different sector of the society. ସେଇ ପର୍ପଜ୍ ନେଇକି ଏକ୍ସପାନସନ୍ କରାଯାଇଥିଲା ଯେ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ସେକ୍ଟର ସୋସାଇଟିର ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ସେକ୍ଟରର ନିଡ୍କୁ ଇଏ ମିଟ୍ କରିବ ବଟ୍ what happened then? The development in this regard are, however, lopsided. The student enrollment at the higher education stage has gone up considerably, but the number of teacher does not increase in that proportion. That's why the development become lopsided. And this expansion without a proportionate increase in the physical academic facilities has led to a deterioration in the quality of higher education in some faculties. So, this fact has been recognized and articulated in the plans and in various other bodies. So, even in the first plan, it was pointed out that the pressure for expanding college education without making adequate provision for ensuring the quality of teaching has been widespread and persisting. This conflict between the urge for expansion and the need for quality has rendered more complex the task of reorganization of university education. The University Grant Commission also felt concerned about explosion in numbers. So, unabated expansion generally related to your explosion in numbers of universities at the higher education stage. The Commission, however, attempted to explain the causation of this phenomenon and mentioned it in this way that in the context of growth of higher education in India, three important facts need to be emphasized. The first one is enrollment at the level of higher education as a proportion of relevant age cohort is hardly adequate in spite of the unprecedented growth that has taken place. True, and that's why the number explosion occurs. And the second is the in spite of the fact that there is a need to regulate expansion in view of limitation of resources is not increasing but the number is only increasing, so it is not easy to deny expansion altogether. And the third one, that it would not be proper to determine the demand for education from the point of view of labor market alone without due consideration of the social, cultural, humanistic aspect of education. So without considering these aspects, social aspect, cultural aspect, humanistic aspect of education, you cannot expand it like the labor market, that you need labor workforce in different fields, so you are expanding it quantitatively, so number explosion is occurring, but without providing sufficient resource, this number explosion is a problem, creating a problem. The next is your uneven growth. So the social demand for political considerations largely influence the decision making establishment of institution under both public and private sectors. So uneven growth. So uneven, one is your expansion, unabated expansion, explosion of numbers, and again uneven growth. Uneven growth, that state-wise expansion of higher education has been uneven, and it has been brought out here in the table is given also here in different states. In some states like your Arunachal Pradesh, there is less number of colleges in different field, university, deemed university, very less in number. In Bihar, you will find more in number, and Chhattisgarh also you can find less. But some states like your Odisha, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, in this some of the states there is very less university or higher education institution, but in some there is much more institutions in number. So this is the uneven growth of the higher education institutions. So these dimensions indicate unevenness in expansion of facilities for higher education and training. The next problem is your enrollment ratio. The share of students in higher education to total age-specific population is an important indicator of extent to which people in a state have access to higher education. So enrollment ratio is also a matter. The overall higher education enrollment ratio in India is 7%, which of course hides considerable difference between the states, which are at different level of educational development. The literacy rate for the states also differ. Similarly, the participation rates of secondary and higher education level also vary. So this is the ratio was not proportionate. That means, and the disparity among the states in terms of availability of facilities for higher education are also clearly visible, and it is recognized that the university enrollment is the resultant of a number of diverse academic, social, and political factors. Economically, better off states are more likely to have adequate facilities for promotion of higher education and research. And enrollment ratio is also affected by economic status and gender. So this also is creating a problem. Next is your institutional diversities. So it was also observed that the enrollment at the higher education stage varies substantially in universities, which is attributable to both institutional capacity, infrastructure, and the range of higher education program offered by the institution. And such variations are even more pronounced when data are examined for different type of university. That means unitary university or affiliating university. The affiliating universities like your Delhi University generally enroll large number of students, whereas you can find the unitary university like JNU have much fewer students. So similarly, university-wise and program-wise enrollment are available in the publication brought out by the UGC, and it was found from that how the diversity occurred. And the enrollment for university varies from university to university. The next problem is the unplanned establishment of colleges. So this is a big problem also. The problem of higher education has been by the unplanned growth of collegiate institutions catering to art, science, commerce. ଯୋଉଠି ଯାହାର ଇଚ୍ଛା ହେଲା ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ କଲେଜ ଖୋଲିକି ସେଠି ବସିଲେ. So, as pointed out by UGC in 1986, a particular mention should be made here that country's nearly 5,500 affiliated colleges, in which vast majority of our university level students study, having been created more for political regional considerations. And this was at that time for the colleges, and now if you will see that It is happening for the universities. Everywhere there is a university. And so, due to political and regional consideration, rather than to meet the higher education needs of their respective states, need was neglected, but political regional considerations were emphasized. So, many of these institutions are extremely small in size, lack of minimum facilities needed there to develop viable instructional programs and pose a constant threat to the quality and standard of higher education. So, the Commission has no say in the establishment of new colleges in their affiliation to the university. The state, which seem to be in a disadvantageous position with regard to the number of universities or enrollment, are sufferers because they have arts and commerce college in every very large number, since it is cheapest way to satisfy the thirst for higher education. Okay. So it was that's why the uneven growth of colleges is mentioned there as a problem. Then next is your quality of higher education. What is the quality of higher education? The UGC referred to the quality of higher education as follows. This is the quote taken from the UGC. The picture that emerges from the assessment made by the committee is one of lights and shades of achievements as well as failures. The general impression is that the best students are as good as ever, if not better, and the contents of the course are generally of a high level. It is also a fact that outstanding work is being done by some of the university departments, and number of teachers have been receiving recognitions from well-known centers of learning. On the other hand, instruction in some universities has not kept pace with modern development. There is a resistance to change and innovation on the part of teachers, and an atmosphere of growing violence and intimidation on the part of students, teachers, and in some cases, even employees. There is also a lack of trust between the students and teachers. It is not surprising that under the present condition, the potentialities of the students are not fully utilized and developed by our universities and colleges. The prevailing situation is also considered unsatisfactory from the point of view of growing expectation. The demand on the system is being far greater as compared to the inputs and availability of resources. This is the um, uh, assessment done by UGC, and this is quoted here like this. What were the real problems? So, what is about the quality of higher education? And that's why what happened, the quality of in order to achieve the objective of improving quality of medical education, the scheme for reorientation of medical education was introduced with the objective of introducing community bias, then reorientation of role for improvement of medical education. These were there. Community bias in the training of undergraduate medical student with emphasis on preventive and promotive service. Then reorientation of role of medical college so that they become an integral part of healthcare system and do not continue to function in isolation. So reorientation of faculty members so that hospital-based and disease-oriented training was progressively completed by community-based and health-oriented training. The development of effective referral linkage between primary health center, district hospital, and medical college. So these were for the medical system. Then another problem was their examination results. So examination results of various university examination were a very crude way of measuring the relative position in various institution of higher education in terms of standards. So The standard of teaching and examination vary substantially in universities, and it is difficult to arrive at commonly acceptable norms of achievement in the absence of any other scientific valid